Hola!
I'm Johanna.
And I'm Denise.
Welcome and bienvenidos to the Love and Evolve podcast, where we discuss topics surrounding holistic wellness such as mental, physical, and spiritual health. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer.
Love and Evolve Wellness Podcast is a community space for conversation, growth, and healing. However, it is not a substitute for professional mental or medical care. El podcast no sustituye ayuda psicológica o médica.
We encourage you to seek resources and support in your community. We love you, los queremos mucho, and you matter to us.
Thank you for listening, and on to the show.
Hello and welcome to the Love and Evolve podcast. I'm Jo.
Hey, and I am Denise.
Welcome again, and thank you for joining us for another week. We are so happy that you are supporting our journey and you are listening consistently. We appreciate you. And we also wanted to add that we are so excited that we received your poll for the next topic, and we are very excited and looking forward to what's to come.
Yes. Yay. Thank you for interacting with us. We were a little nervous. We were like, oh no, what if we put this question out there and we get nothing? But y'all delivered, you came through. So thank you so much. And we heard you. So yeah, we love the topic of remedio. So we'll be following up on that soon.
Yes. So for today, we wanted to take it in a different direction. We have been experiencing some challenges in our day-to-day, and we kind of wanted to talk about what is it like when we feel stuck, when we get wrapped up in our darkness, in our spinning wheels of negativity, and how difficult it is to get out of it and to even maybe see the light.
Mm-hmm. It's like I've lost track of time. How long have we been in this, like, working from home, or maybe you're a parent and you're in the home still trying to work, your kids are still trying to go to school at the same time. It's just so much happening all at the same time, and there are injustices left and right. I mean, they've always been there, but now more than ever, it's, you know, we've been hearing more about them in a way that is necessary, because these voices need to be heard and we need to work together and be together and support each other. But it's also a lot to process through and to work through, necessary work. But yes, there's so much going on, being pulled in many and all directions, and almost a stillness in that there's like a shock of what do I do next? And being stuck in that sense.
Yeah. And I think too, like, something that I experience is like I'm constantly doing things, but it takes effort to slow down. It takes effort to be present, and it's necessary, because if we just kind of go with the flow and we continue to move very quickly, then we can dissociate from our bodies, and then that can lead to us feeling other things like anxiety and maybe depression and other things. And so it's challenging. We're being pulled in so many different directions. We're all wearing different hats, and then not really having a moment where we can really sit quietly with our feelings and process what is happening.
Mm-hmm. It's like there's no time off.
Mm-hmm.
And there's kind of a guilt to that. I don't know about you, that there's this feeling of guilt of wanting to take time off. And then if I do take time off, then what does that mean? I don't know if you can relate to that, but I certainly feel feelings of guilt related to stopping.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially with, like, all the projects that we're working on. Like, there are days where I'm just like, I can't, like, I'm fried. Like, I cannot absorb any new information any longer.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, feeling pressure of like, well, I have to. I mean, nobody else is going to do this work. And if I need it to move forward, I have to be the one. But I think what I'm learning is how to give myself permission to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, to require myself to slow down. And it's so uncomfortable to do that.
Mhm. Yeah, we've been go, 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 and we've been in this COVID-19-ness of life for a year now, year and something. And you would think by now we're like all in new routines, but I think I was reading somewhere and I mean, it was very general. I just kind of glanced over it, but something to that this new routine is interrupting with us, that we don't necessarily have this. It's kind of like a deceiving routine. So we're more tired because we're more in the home, whereas before we would get up and go and there are more transitions,
Mm-hmm.
whereas now things kind of blend together. So it's really difficult to separate or feel really well rested because it's just all mushed
Mm-hmm.
in. And also, a lot of us are online a lot more. And I was looking up the mental health effects of social media, and that Instagram is the worst for your mental health because it's not only visual, but you can see videos, you see pictures, you read captions, so it's all the senses, and you're more involved, and it's, there's this comparison of, oh, me and them, that happens on a much heightened level than if you're just on like Twitter, and it's people having, they're bantering sometimes, but it's also like an exchange of information, or if it's Pinterest and it's just pictures and inspiration and research. So it's very different. And so Instagram is much more intense, and that weighs on us much more heavily. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of us are now on social media a whole lot more,
Mm-hmm.
right, as a way to connect and build community and reach out in that way.
Yeah, and then as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about this and just imagining with kiddos that are on Zoom all day and out of necessity, that's how they're getting their
Mm-hmm.
education. And like, and even for parents to get a break, sometimes you just need a moment to collect yourself, so you may give the kiddo the tablet. But the amount of screen time that not just children but adults are getting because of work, because of that's the only way they're really connecting with other people and maintaining those social connections, I can't even begin to imagine what that's doing to our vision, what that's doing to our
Mm-hmm.
mental health, with our sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, when our sleep's messed up, that messes with our hormones, that messes with our metabolism, like nutrition. And then it just all sounds like this doom. Oh man, I'm probably not the best person right now to be doing this. I'm just like this, it's just so much, and I guess we're sharing all of this to say is that things are so hard right now. They're
Mm-hmm.
hard. So if you're feeling like, it's too much, or like you need a break, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you're in one of your high moments right now, perhaps it was that low moment was just behind you, or, it's something that you're feeling is right around the corner. So we're all in these ups and downs and valleys of emotions with this year and counting, and what's been happening. And it is hard. So we wanted to bring this up and to acknowledge everything that's happening, and be real about it,
Mm.
and not paint this picture of like daisies and roses and skipping through meadows, even though that seems amazing. It makes me think of The Sound of Music, like singing atop a mountainside. Um, because while that's all great and we want to share knowledge and how we can be there for ourselves and each other and to heal, we also want to be realistic and not make it seem like, oh, here's something that you can do, right? And it's like
Mhm.
easier said than done, you know. But that we recognize that there's a lot happening around.
Yeah, and then knowing that we're here through that. We're here for you, we're here for each other. I mean, we just want to validate your experience and let you know that you are seen, that we see how hard you work each and every day. If you're a parent, we know that you're doing the best that you can, and your kids love you. Like, just
Mm-hmm.
know that you matter and that you are finding the strength to continue to move on each and every day. So now we're noticing that this is the situation, acknowledging this is our current reality, no longer denying that this is where we stand. So what comes next? And that
Mhm.
is awareness. That is our recognition that we are in this state of hypervigilance and that we are going to feel this until things really kind of shift. And how can we maneuver through that? You know, I've had a really tough couple weeks with my mental health and just trying to really stay optimistic and you know, and one of the ways that I've worked through that, and it's different for everyone, so please
Mhm.
don't hear this and say like, oh, okay, well, that's not going to work for me, or you know, like these are some options. And one of the ways that I've sort of prepared myself for these lows is I've created a process for myself, and that is a self-care toolkit that gets pulled out with a list of things that I know are going to make me feel better. And I might feel like I don't want to do this, but I know that it's going to make
Mhm.
me feel better. So I have to at least try. Something I used to do was immediately I would isolate. I would be like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm not going to talk to my closest friend because obviously they'll figure out what's going on and then they'll know. And
Mhm.
I don't want them to see me like this. So then there's this like feeling of shame for experiencing sadness, for experiencing difficult
Mhm.
emotions. And you know, and so I hide into my shell. And so because I know that, one of the things that I've put on my list is to reach out to a close friend and just blatantly state what is my current feeling, and then let things play out as they need to. And you'll figure out like which friends those are, because there's friends that can quickly try to fix your situation, and if that's what helps you, fantastic. But if you're needing more of like a someone to actively listening to you and just be there with you in your pain, like that's what I found is helpful for me, someone that will just see me and be with me in that state. And that's when I reached out to Denise. I was like,
Mhm.
hey, this is how I'm feeling. And then what I found was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad I could be there for you, and it helped me as well to then release what was on my chest.
Mhm.
Um, and the other thing that came up for me, and this wasn't the situation with you, Joe. I mean, the way you approach and come up to me when you need something is very clear that you value my emotional energy and my
Mm.
space and time. So I also want to shout out to my fellow healers who are usually the go-to person. Because there's always the one person, and you're like the one in your group of friends that everyone comes to, and then that can also be very heavy and weigh a lot on you if you're like the one person that people go to. That it is important to set boundaries, and it's okay to say, I'm here for you. Let me get 5 minutes, or and the people who love you and are there for you and reach out to you and are like, they'll wait and they'll understand, and you'll know those are your people, those are your true friends, because then you will wait for them when it's their turn. To say, I need a couple minutes. And I know that can also be hard. I've had to do that. And I put a lot on myself when I thought, oh, I can't be there. Like, I feel bad if I can't be available right away. To say, hey, I'm doing this right now, and I really want to hear you out. I want to be there for you.
Mhm.
Please know that I have you in my mind. And, if this is something that, like, if it's one of those situations where somebody's about to harm themselves, then, like, see what you can do about connecting them with a resource. But otherwise, it's like, let me, when I get home or when I'm in this space, I'm going to give you my undivided attention. Is that cool? And usually it's like, yeah, 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 whatever. Like, thank you, and it's something for them to look forward to. So
Mhm.
also take care of yourself, especially now in these times, that if you're that one go-to person that everyone leans on, that you too deserve that time and space to lean on other people as well, and to set those boundaries because it's healthy.
Yeah. The other part that comes up for me is quiet time. Um,
Mm.
you know, I found that something that immediately releases tension is Palo Santo. Like I will
Mhm.
light it and the scent and just like what I'm thinking as I'm lighting it is just really focusing in on my energy and allowing whatever is there to be released into the light and just like staying there with that and breathing through it, becoming aware of my breath. Um, and that like that has been one of those things that's like quick, that'll snap me out of whatever's going on and just be like, okay, focus in the present moment. Um, and then also like intuitive readings really help me
Mm.
when I do them for myself, like just sitting there and trying to get my concerns answered, or at least some sort of strength from it, to remind me that I have intuitive knowing and that it's okay to sometimes feel these waves. Like it's all part of the process, it's all part of the journey. And to not look at it as like, I don't want this or this is bad, but it's all energy that is trying to be processed. And so we don't want to just dismiss it and move past it, but recognize it and, paint it, draw it, name it,
Mhm.
have some way of taking it outside of your body.
Yeah, that makes me think about elements like, if you're really into astrology and that, I think my element is air. I feel like everyone hates on wind. Everyone's like all about the sunshine, they're like, what's your favorite weather? I'm like, windy days. I honestly do really love it. Um, because for me, I really feel connected to being outside and feeling that wind on my skin. And that's very calming and connecting
Mhm.
to me and can take me outside of myself in a good positive way. In a, I'm a part of more, I'm a part of this grander, universe than just myself.
Mhm.
And this all comes back to awareness. I know you mentioned that early on and we kind of went down different streams of ideas, but coming back to awareness in recognizing what is underneath the feeling. And I'm going to give an example because it's probably going to be easier for me to explain it that way. But again, going back to social media, that's like a trap for me. Going on there and looking at what people are doing and then feeling like, oh, they're doing the thing that I want to do. How come I'm not doing it? And feeling down on myself about that. And then going, okay, hold on a minute. This isn't about what they're doing. And it's not that I exactly want to do what they're doing. There's something within that that is triggering me. So what is that? Because
Mhm.
before I might have just been like, I'm not good enough. They're doing my thing. They took it first. That's not fair. And really there's something else beyond that. And it's usually that this other person is exercising something that you're working through. So whether it's a confidence, whether it's insecurity of, fear of failure, that you are being triggered by this perceived success that they are, not insecure and they've got it all together. So it's those feelings, those are the things that you want to work on, not necessarily that someone else is doing what you want to do.
Mhm.
It's what you want to embrace and embody.
Yeah, and like, I mean, just to be transparent, like that was one of the reasons I reached out to Denise, and it was very comforting to know that I wasn't in my own island experiencing
Mm-hmm.
this, that I also, because I'm trying to, improve my brand and all these things, um and being new in entrepreneurship, there's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves. And I want to repeat that because I said there's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves. It's
Mm-hmm.
not this external idea or other people or what other people are producing. No, anything that we are coming up with in our minds as, oh, well, it's not good enough, that's all coming from within. And when I reached out to Neve, I had been going through websites and going through Instagram accounts and just being like, okay, I was doing it initially for inspiration. And the more and more I saw, the more small I felt. And I just felt so defeated. Like, how am I even going to show up and do anything? How can I even help or influence anyone or help them heal? And just diminishing my worth, diminishing my value based on what originally was about inspiration. And the more and more I sat with that, and it was so gross to sit with that feeling. Like, I was like, why am I feeling this way? And then feeling guilty for feeling those things. And then, all of it.
Mhm.
And then being like, okay, this is where I'm at. And clearly, this is something that people have built. This is something that has taken time.
Mhm.
And I try to reframe it to where, what have I done? What are things that I have, like, what are my wins? What are my victories? And I mean, of course, it didn't happen in that moment. This was introspective and like after the fact. And after I had some time to, like, after I applied all my self-care stuff, and I was like, okay,
Mhm.
now I'm feeling a little better. Now I can actually set my ego aside and think about this in a way of like, what is happening within me? And in agreement with everything that you said, Denise, that it's like, what is it about that situation that is triggering me? Or what is that inner child within me being activated, and in what way? And how can I validate that for my child self? And
Yeah.
that's when I realized, okay, this is coming from my fear of failure, and it's coming from my tendency to people please and all these things that are really
Yeah.
from that inner child wound.
Mhm. Wow. Similar feelings, in my own way, but and also thank you for explaining what I was saying far better than I
I feel like we
I,
complemented what we said.
I tend to workshop my thoughts in the moment instead of otherwise there would be long gaps of silence while I'm processing and thinking and the computer in my brain is computing ideas and phrases. Yeah, and I'm also very tired. That had me think of God, a long time ago. It was I don't even remember where I heard it, but it's like when we see somebody doing something just really cool, and we're like, wow, that's so awesome. Like, say somebody playing the drums, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I wish I could do that. And they said, no, it's not that you really want to do the drums. Come on, like, if you really wanted to do the drums, you'd be doing it. You'd go out and you'd be practicing it. There's something that's cool about it that's within you that you want to capture, that they've captured. So like you were talking about with that inner child, it's that wanting to please people, or that wanting to receive that validation of effort, of work. That's the stuff. It's not the drum playing. Yes, it looks cool, but you don't really want to do the drums. You want to have that feeling, right, of feeling fulfilled, of feeling, whatever it is that you're working through. All that you said so beautifully in a couple of phrases. But
I
that's what
felt
I was
like I
getting
spoke forever. See, we are much harder on ourselves all the
at.
time. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And I know that there's this pressure, Joe and I had been talking about this too, of starting before you're ready, the good old Nike, just do it, and it's like, do it before you're ready sometimes. Yes, there are some things that, you just gotta go and do. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in the thinking and thinking about it. But there is also preparation and thought that needs to happen as well to catch you as well, and to be, oh, was it Joe that you said that you wanted to start running a marathon before you could crawl?
oh, yeah. Why did I say that?
And it's that sort of idea that, yes, go work with what you have, start there,
Oh, yeah, that's what it was.
and then and do your research with what's next to then build on top of that, because there's a lot of, oh, just do it and just start it, and then that can put so much immense pressure when what we need to do is start from where we're at and with what we have.
Mhm.
um, and that's a constant one for me to work through, and it's like, I really didn't have to drop this amount of money on this that I didn't have. I had everything I needed, like it was doable.
Mhm.
But I let the pressure come in, and I
Mhm.
opened up the door and went, sure, why not, come on in, and
Mhm.
then thought I had to do more than what was within my reach or my resources.
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, and then I wanted to add that it's like coming back to this idea of, I don't know if where this is coming from. Maybe it's just intuition, but
mm,
feeling, no, knowing that we all have a unique blueprint of gifts and
Mhm,
talents.
mhm,
And whatever it is that you want to do, like there's always going to be somebody else who's doing something like what you're trying to do.
mhm,
But to remember that what you have to offer is you, your personality, your story, your style. And there's no one that's going to be just that way. And you are going to draw the right clients, you're going to draw the right people that are meant to work with you, that are only going to elevate you and the people that you are working with.
mhm. Yeah. And for all my empaths and for all my peeps who have those soft skills, because this has been a struggle of mine, that these quick and fast hard skills of like sales and things that skills that produce something that's tangible that people see, that I know that it can feel like quite a struggle to feel like I've got these soft skills, if I've got empathy and connection and care for people, and where does that fall into the value of society? It is very, very valuable. It may not be the fancy cover page of things, but they are absolutely necessary. We don't all have to come up with that $1,000,000 idea.
Mhm.
It's okay to just be.
What is another thing that has helped you, Denise?
I'd say a social media detox is probably
Mm.
what works.
Yeah, I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I appreciate about Instagram, or even in my, I don't know if this is the case for the iOS, but for Androids, it has like it'll give you charts on how much time you're spending on each type of thing related to your phone. So different apps, and even it'll show you like your sleep, like everything. So you get to see in I'm a visual person, so you could see it all in charts of like, where's my time going? And when I first looked at that, when I first started going into marketing my stuff on Instagram, I was like, I was floored with how many hours I was spending online. And like, you think, oh no, it's like a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there, but it adds up. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God. And then do the math, like, for awareness, like, okay, how many hours are you spending per day? How many is that per week? How many is that per month and year? So
Yeah,
how much
so
of your
good.
time for the year are you spending on social media? And what could you be using that time for otherwise that could catapult you to experience those feelings that you want to be experiencing? And so, I mean, I hope that made sense, but I was trying
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
to just
did.
express that I recognize, like, wow, I'm spending this much time, like, how useful really is it? And
Mm-hmm.
almost just timing myself, like, okay, I'm going to do inspiration for X amount of time, and after that, that's it. Like, any more than that can become harmful. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and just really setting boundaries for ourselves.
So, staying on the topic of social media, the other thing that has helped me, and I also did this recently, was to do a little bit of housekeeping. I've in the past have done time away, but this time what I did is I went through everyone that I was following and just was like, all right, who do I not need to follow on here? Because even if you're not checking their stuff, their content, just even having them on your feed, that just still takes up your energy space. And it felt so good to go through and be like, no, 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 I can interact in other ways. And also, if you're not going to interact, then clean it out. Marie Kondo your life. If it's not giving you joy, get it out of there. And I went through 2 cycles of that. So I did it one day and let it sit. And the next day I went back in again. I was like, okay, I can also take these people out. And the other part of that was also um, you have the ability to mute your own stuff, your information from other people. And let me explain. So there may be people that you have in your life that, okay, this is the people pleaser in me of like, oh, I don't know what they're going to think of me if I'm putting this kind of content, blah, blah, blah. So if those are the thoughts, just mute your stuff so that they don't see you. And now you don't have to worry about them anymore. And when you're ready, then you can unmute your stuff and then they can see it again. They're still in your, I was
I
going to say
didn't know that.
family plan. They're still there. Like you still follow them and they follow you, but you can mute your content so that they don't see your videos and stories. For me, that just relieved a lot of pressure as well. And you can also mute other people's stories. So I've done this before, that there was a time when people, I cared about and loved were doing something that I was working towards. And so anytime I saw them doing something, really great with their lives, even though I felt proud of them, it was just too triggering for me. And I wasn't quite ready,
Mhm.
to then see and really be in enjoying their process, that I would then mute whatever it was that they were doing. So then when I was ready, then I could see them again. Then it was like, all right, I'm going to open the window again. And now I'm okay. And now I can genuinely say, wow, I'm so excited for you, because I've already processed those feelings, rather than letting any of that ugliness that creep in. I didn't want any of that. So you can mute yourself from other people, and then you can mute seeing other people in that way. If you're like, I don't know about deleting them, you
Mhm.
can still set boundaries in other ways. It's so helpful. Protect your energy 100%. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, before I share my piece, I just wanted to honor what you said because, well, first of all, it takes a lot of courage to really put it out there. And, it takes a lot of courage to share those deep places of ourselves and also recognizing that you are validating your own experience and you're honoring that and protecting your energy, and those things are all so valuable as we do this work, even though we feel like, oh yeah, that's cool and it doesn't affect us, but if we still feel that,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to affect us.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you're taking care of you, and
Mm-hmm.
that's to be celebrated. And then one thing, this thing that I found for myself is actually new, and it's probably gonna sound a little silly, and it happened as like an experiential thing. I was working and someone came to me with something that was going on with their lives, and I immediately went to share, just like provide that safe space for them. And I felt this pull to speak to them in Spanish. And I I mean, I think and write everything, and like all of it happens in Spanish in my head first, and then I translate it to English, and then, here I am talking in English, but everything happens in Spanish in my head first. But I don't typically speak to others in Spanish unless it's like an invitation, or sometimes it just comes out. But in this situation, it's been mostly English, and so, out of respect, I keep that. But I just felt this genuine call to speak in Spanish. And what I found in that process, I mean, I guess you could call it like a pep talk, or like an encouragement conversation towards somebody I care about. And in doing that, I realized how powerful I feel things within me when they're spoken in my native language.
Yeah.
And I just like
Mm-hmm.
was, oh, this is a discovery for me. Like I've always felt so comfortable speaking in Spanish, but it was like this aha moment where like, oh, wait, I was speaking to someone else, but I think everything I just said were things I needed to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that it would have had the same effect had I spoken and said those things in English.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's really amazing. It's like that saying of like, what would you, mm, what is it? Rewind. It's like when people say, what would you tell your very best friend, right? Like
Mhm.
when you're speaking to yourself in such a way that's just like negative and not helpful. Like, what would you say to your very best friend, right? It's like that's what you were doing, and it just came so much more natural because it was in your native language, and
Mhm.
there wasn't this translation or having to switch. It's just
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, I actually got really emotional afterward because I was like, I need to do this more. This is
Mhm.
something that I feel so just authentic in. And not that speaking in English doesn't feel authentic, but it's like me, the way I showed up, the way I learned, the way I arrived to this world was learning Spanish first. And so speaking it and hearing the things that I was offering to someone else that I care about, it was almost like I was talking to myself. This sounds so
Mhm.
bizarre, but like it just, and that's exactly what I'm saying, is that If you are struggling with something, think about what you would say to a friend, and do it in a way that is coming from a place of love, and see what transpires for you, because that really shifted within me something.
That's really lovely. It's all about you, and it's so ingrained in your essence if that's your native language. And I know you're like, oh, I don't know, but that is so important. It's so important for a lot of people. Last episode we were talking about, our voices and our stories of like, that's part of your story. It's the foundation, right? Language and expression of feeling and emotions, or all of that. It's like when people say, oh, the way you're speaking, that's not proper, and it's like, excuse me, screw you if that's how I want to explain and express myself. No. You're wrong. It's like, it's so freeing to connect to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
love that. It's freeing. That's exactly what it feels like. So to summarize,
it's hard times, y'all. Hard
yeah.
all around for many reasons. We're experiencing at different times, but also together. I've been through my lows, and so has Joe, and I think both of us are still kind of coming out or crawling out of our holes or caves, or I don't know what they are. And yet there are things that we practice, that we try to revisit and go to, after years of working on this. And it does take practice to build a toolkit, to build a sense of awareness of, okay, what are these patterns? What are my triggers? And what is it really? It's not necessarily a person, but there are things that I'm being triggered by that I'm still working through. So that's what I'm working with. So awareness was a big piece of what we talked about, as well as protecting your energy and taking time from social media. It's a huge tool, but it's there to use as a tool. It's not a job that you need to go and clock into. It's not a requirement. So if you use it for inspiration, as soon as you get those little feelings of self-doubt, turn it off. Done. That's your inner timer going, nope, we've reached our capacity, our limit, we're done. And that's it. And I know that's hard, and that also takes practice. Joe and I both shared some of our experiences and how we process through that and work through how we use social media, and then also speaking through our own authentic voice.
Yes.
Express yourself as you. If your self-care is singing at the top of your lungs in the shower, do it. If that what comes to you, if it's cursing in your native language and nobody knows what the heck you're saying, oh well. Do your thing. Do what you gotta do.
So I feel pulled to share a message with all of you in español, if that's okay. Si en este momento sientes como que las cosas son imposibles, como que tu felicidad está muy lejos de ti, recuerda que dentro de ti tienes poder, dentro de ti hay arte, dentro de ti hay amor. Quédate ahí un poquito más y vas a descubrir tu fuerza. Sigue adelante, porque de aquí para adelante solo puedes seguir al futuro.
Eso. Adelante, sí. Yeah. Mini translation for our friends who do listen, who might not understand, Joe. Should I try?
¿Qué dije?
¿Qué dijiste? ¿Qué?
Ya se me fue.
Se fue? Okay, so a little recap, and it was beautiful. That, if we're experiencing difficult times, know that there is such strength within you. There is power within you. There's creativity, art, all of these ways of expressing yourself. I'm trying to do my best to recapture what you said, but I was so in the moment. But essentially, it's within you.
Yeah. And to write it out, it feels challenging and hard, but write it out and know that you can only move forward into your future from here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
step into your power.
Step into it, step by step. Ooh, baby. Okay.
I don't know this song, so.
Oh, you don't? New Kids on the Block. Oh, I date myself. It's okay. Thank you for that closing. It was beautiful, just what I needed. And, you know, Spanish is not my first language. I don't know. I always get confused by that. It's my parents' first language, and that's what they spoke in the house. So for me, anytime I hear it, it feels like home. Just because those are the sounds of language that I grew up around, even though formally I was taught in English, I guess that's like my first formal language. But Spanish always feels like home to me. So thank you. I got all in my feels.
Oh.
And hopefully you all are in your feels and feeling good, and we will be back
We'll
again.
See you next time.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. We thank you for sharing your time with us and for listening to the Love and Evolve podcast, where we share tools, resources, and education on topics that cover holistic wellness, encompassing mind, body, and spirit.
Find details on how to stay connected with us in the show notes. We'd love to hear from you. Les damos un fuerte y enorme abrazo. Mwah.
Mwah.